That's what I'm talking about. Nice band playing. Okay, my friends, João Vieira here, doing finally a video about the uh, data center planning, actually the lack of planning in Frederick County. I should have done this earlier, but it just didn't work out. And I decided to do this because um, my experience in construction, uh, inspections and consulting, and I can tell, I could tell once Kai started, continue. He has been doing the same thing for years now. So I want to take my hat to him on this topic because there is plentiful evidence that this is the way we are handling this at the county level is not a effective use of resources first on the data planning issue, and then it's going to hurt the residents also because of the cost sharing. The electrical bill has been increasing on places where this was already done big time and for several years. Now, basically what I'm trying to say here is that, Frederick, we are heading straight, fast to the problems that already happened in several counties, including in Loudoun County and PG County. So I'm going to present here some information and factual information. This is not stuff that I made a story about. And so to show that when counties rushed into the data center expansion without comprehensive planning, then they ended up facing, and they are facing, serious consequences. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm helping the county, and I'm trying to be a good steward, basically, because the county isn't. And by the way, good positive shout for Mr. Steve McKay. He has shown to have more common sense than the folks that I voted for. And that's the way I see it. So I'm going to be thinking my voting option next time around. And then it is what it is from there. So without further ado, let's just talk about quickly about, by the way, this video will be quick. You won't be falling asleep. I'm sorry, I speak a little slower. I will be thinking about increasing the speed of the video. So if this shows up with a much higher, maybe normal speed for everybody else, that's because I accelerated. I can't talk about stuff like this fast. So when the county fails to do their diligence, then there are consequences, and this is the government overall. Okay, these are just three topics that involved water contamination. And this here is not specifically the case, but I'm just showing what happens when the county and or government officials don't do their job. So we had Flint, we had several, Camp Lejeune, we had different issues about mining and toxic water release that affected residents, their quality of life. So, and I'm big in improving the quality of life. So when I see something that affects a lot of people, oh, you bet, I'll be vocal. So that's why I'm doing this video. So this is just an example showing, actually three cases showing why it's not a good idea to disregard the well-being of residents. It's not really a good idea. And because the county did that here too, they opened themselves for liability. And us, because we're gonna end up having to pay for that. And because they didn't do the job initially. And this is a pattern of that we are living right now is damage control. We're not in QA anymore, in quality in assessment stage. And I'm saying this because we have plenty of evidence all around us where the counties already are dealing with the problem. and I will show it here too shortly. So as a quick example, everybody heard about Loudoun County. Now we have issues about noise affecting residents, sleep and so forth. And what happens is these specs that are being used for these projects, these industrial grade projects should have been installed on industrial grade land or zoned land, because that's the right place. And that land is normally away from residences. Okay, so there's a reason for that. One of them is the noise levels. So someone on the county, okay, they need to check out the noise levels for residential areas, not for industrial ones. Okay, and I've seen a video of a guy measuring his noise levels on his house, and it's way above what it should be. So he has grounds to sue the county. Okay, it's not in Frederick; it's somewhere else. I don't remember, but I'm just talking about this so people know about their rights. One, and two, they understand that the county did not do their job. Okay, and I'm going to show why here. And Steve Black and Kai Hagen, they did an excellent interview about all these facts that surround this problem, all the dynamics. I'm going to give a little bit more information, and I'm going to end this video with a solution that wasn't discussed yet. Actually, two solutions, because the county did not do their job. It's fairly simple like that. This is not complicated. And also, for those people that say, oh, this is not a big deal, you know what I say to that? Well, it's not a big deal because it's not affecting you, right? Because once it starts affecting you and your wallet, then you're going to think, oh yeah, this is a big deal. So this idea that each person is separated from everyone else, I don't think is very productive, but I'm just a guy by myself. I can't talk by or for other people. So just wanted to show what happens when government employees don't do their job. And we have had billions in damages awarded by, from courts have done their litigation there. The people that suffered the consequences of those three cases and many others is billions. In the past 10 years, the government had to pay billions in damages. So I decided to get involved because I wanted to avoid this for our Frederick friends here, residents. This is not really about politics, because I'm really being vocal about, or against the people that I voted for. And so it is what it is. In Prince William County, for example, they are dealing with the same situation, fairly, at the same stage, with hearings and so forth. They also didn't do the homework. They did not do that. And in PG County, they had a task force back in. They did one back in April last year. So I'm just showing here that this issue is not new. So no matter what our elected officials say now, it does not fly. And I haven't seen concrete evidence, but I've seen that some posts about these officials receiving donations from the developers, and everything makes sense now, right? They took donations from them, and that's why they're bulldozing, over the priorities that affect and the well-being and wellness for all Frederick residents. So that's why I decided to do this video, and that's why I decided to be involved and vocal about this issue. So it's fairly simple. And then on top of PG County, you have Prince William County. And so instead of being leading, we are trailing. This is just, and why is that? Well, because our elected officials did not do their job. We could have been talking about now, for example, heat recovery, if they had done the job correctly, but didn't. So, and even beyond that, we a smarter way to handle this from the beginning. If I was on the county executive, and I would start seeing a lot of noise and a lot of activity on the data centers and building, I would probably anticipate that this was going to happen here too, right? So they avoided the East Alco site. That is the actual correct place to build and install the equipment that's being done right now in Adamstown. And they did not use it, like many people already said, because of the cost. It's higher. But guess what? This is really a trap, because that will hurt Frederick residents. And there's lots of evidence about this on the economical factor too. It's not only an environmental issue, is the economy too. And people say, well, it brings taxes, brings this, brings that. Well, it's going to raise the electrical bill for everyone. This is fairly well stated. It's not up to, we can discuss it for sure, but the facts are out there. You can be denying it, but the facts are out there. When there is no transparency about this, it's already documented that the utility bills, the energy bills, are increasing, okay, for the residents of the counties where this thing is installed. And this is going to end up being a statewide issue, because, if we don't have competent people that grab the bull by the horns, they could have handled this much differently, as I will show here, and they didn't. So that's why I'm going to be thinking about my voting options next time differently. So there are on the, and I'm going to link all these documents. There are many documented reports, credible reports. This one here is from NYU School of Law. So they sort of should know what the heck they're talking about, right? So what's happening is, because the county is not proactive, then the developers come and they do what the heck they want. And it's much cheaper for them. And I'm going to link this report. Is fairly straightforward about that topic. And on the land issue, what happens is it's much cheaper to develop farmland than industrial land. But this was just a mistake from negligence from our county executive and so forth, the people that I voted for, because on top of everything else, this puts a big strain on the obscene amounts of energy that it consumes. So when the grid is not made to handle such amount of energy, then they have the default generators, which will create a different problem. That's on the air quality around the place. Once those generators start running, that's what will happen. The quality of the air will suffer some. And of course, like I said, if it doesn't affect you if you don't live around there, right? But if you do, it might affect you too. So I think this is, from everyone's interest to get informed properly about this. And then you can make a judgment. But talking about this without understanding what is going on, it's not good. So we on top of energy, then the East Alco site already features all the transmission lines and all the industrial zoning, all the required infrastructure. So they didn't do it there because it was more expensive, and it's easier to help a few people, and get your donors, happy instead of doing the right thing. And somebody says, okay, all right, John, what would be the right thing? Well, the right thing, if you ask me, thank you for that. You got to keep up with the humor, because otherwise, this is life. Helps me keep my sanity. Here we have over 300,000 residents in Frederick County. That's what I looked up. The number said. So if the county executive had come up front and said, okay, this is like 2 years ago, if they had done their job, and they would think, okay, we need really a incentive, right, to have the developers redevelop and reuse the East Alco site. That would be something fairly responsible, I would think, And how are we going to do that? Well, I would be straight with the residents of Frederick if it was me, and I would say, look, these data centers are starting to, be built everywhere around us, and it's going to increase. We anticipate this will happen in Frederick too. So we would like to use the site, and to do that, because it's cheaper to develop land somewhere else. I would love to offer some incentives, and I'm doing a campaign for Frederick residents so that we help that to make that happen. But in exchange, I'm going to keep the rates of the energy stable. Now, if you did that, you'd show that you were a good leader, that a good steward of Frederick residents' best interest, not just the people that gave you money, And so that's why I'm fairly certain that I'm not going to be voting next time. The way this is going, I mean, the county still has time to instead of trying to sweep the issue under the rug, to do the right thing, and see that, the people that really, this is the way I see it, is like the people that voted them in can vote them out too next time, and this is just a sad showmanship of negligence as far as I'm concerned. Okay. And so we could have raised like $8 or $10 million, for incentive. That was my point about this, and that's something we did not even have the chance to talk about, because they're trying to keep it quiet under the rug. Shh, don't tell anyone. And then the issue that, forget about this last issue. Some countries are, actually several, are installing these underground. Why is that a good idea? Well, it's much easier to manage the temperature underground, and for conscious people that are responsible and think about using natural resources the best they can, not around here. For them, heat recovery is also an important deal, and especially in urban areas where the heating system relies on big boilers and they circulate water, hot water, that heat houses. Russia has a big system like that. They have huge boilers that heat up water. So, but some other countries do too, especially in urban areas. In the United States, a lot of these the houses here, it's a huge amount of land too, but I don't know all about, cities like New York and stuff like that, but most houses here that I've seen in Maryland, they have their own heating unit. They have a heating furnace of some sorts, could be electrical, whatever it is. So what I've seen is that some countries are already doing, I think Finland and some other countries, they already have successfully implemented this heat recovery system. And it makes sense if you think about it, because in the States now we're building all these above ground. It's I looked the data up, and it turns out the huge amount of energy that some of these data centers take, that it's enough to some of them to power 200,000 houses. That's how crazy this thing is. Um, what happens is 95% of the energy is converted into heat. It does this thing and it's converted to heat, and then the water comes in to cool down the system, and all that heat is lost into the air, into the atmosphere again, into the environment. So since 95% of the energy is released as heat, we could have been talking by now also about underground installations. And since we don't have here the same environment, tight urban environment with very high density or higher, where we will have a boiler of these heating systems like they have in some countries, we could have been talking about installing, for example, a greenhouse above the data center. It would make sense if we put it underground. It's a possibility, right? But because we have never done the homework before the project started. Now, Kai Hagen has been doing raising red flags for years, and so take my hat to him on this. And sometimes, I when I see some news and just looking at the facts, I don't like to go overboard. But on this, as soon as I start looking into what had pretty much happened, I was fairly surprised that no one paid attention to Kai. So I think the county they all owe him a beer. And I would like to thank everybody participating in the petition and in the committee. I hope you enjoy this video that hopefully is going to answer some questions. I'm going to link all this information below, and you can look at this for yourself. You don't have to believe me, right? I'm not saying, hey, I'm God, right? I have the Bible. I'm just saying that I looked this up, and Kai is right, and he's not making it a bigger deal than what it is. So only people that don't care about others would think like that. So I invite everybody to look at the facts, because your energy bill will increase. Please look at the report from the State Energy Environmental Impact Center. It will give you the facts there too. So I hope you enjoyed it, and take care now.